Joaquin Lopez, welcome to the Free Trail Podcast. It's great to meet you, buddy.
Thank you, Dylan. It's actually my pleasure to be here. I'm super honored.
The honor and the pleasure is all mine. I'm so excited to talk to you. You've been on an absolute tear recently, arriving on my radar, along with a lot of people, I think, with your podium finish at UTMB last summer, which we're going to talk about. And of course, starting your season in a very strong way, both in Tenerife and then maybe more notably at Ultra Trail Mount Fuji or Mount Fuji 100, where you absolutely smashed a huge course record victory there. So a lot to talk about here, but I always start in the same place, and that's just an introspective question to get things going. That question is, what makes you, Joaquin? If you are thinking deeply about your core character attributes, what are the things that come to mind?
Well, thanks for giving a heads up with this question. I actually had to give it a thought, but I do think that I'm a really determined guy. Whatever comes into my mind, I really work hard to go there, and I'm really passionate about it as well. So I just dream about it. I'm obsessed with it, and I think that has led me to get, better results, and further in life that I actually thought, not just like in the sports area, in every aspect of my life. So that has been part of it. And maybe just having like a clear purpose, like for me, it's always been like so clear, and my why, it's so imminent that, I think that has driven my personality.
Okay. Well, now we have to talk about that. What is your purpose? What is your why?
I think it started like as soon as I'm Ecuadorian. I'm from a small country in Latin America. And as soon as I discovered sports, I just felt so passionate about like representing this small country. And probably that came from just seeing other Ecuadorians going to different sports, like even the Ecuadorian soccer team, and just different people around, and just giving everything they have, like no negotiable, just to get to the finish line or to do as best as they could, because you don't have that so easy. And that has really marked me. Like for me, it's always been like, there's not a chance I'm not going to give my 100%, because I know that I'm not only racing for myself, but probably there's a lot of more people that are going to be inspired by my effort. And that really makes a big difference in myself and in everyone.
Yeah. All right. I want to spend a lot of time talking about this. You mentioned you grew up in Quito, the capital city of Ecuador. It makes you very interesting by default. There aren't any other like high profile professional athletes in trail running, from Ecuador. But I know that Ecuador does have a really strong sporting culture. It's located Quito is located at 9,000 feet of altitude. So I'm sure there's a lot of outdoor opportunity within, close proximity to where you grew up. Can you share a little bit about your upbringing in Quito? What makes the place, the city itself special, and maybe the country more broadly?
Yeah, so it's crazy because, as you said, we live high in the mountains, and anywhere you look around, you have like, I'm meters guy, but you have like 4,000 meter volcanoes, like anywhere you look around. So they really call you, like it's you want to be out there, and that has driven me also to be really curious, like just to go and explore, and like any city, not just Quito, because even if you go to the Amazon, because Ecuador has like the Amazon rainforest, and then it also has the coast. So anywhere you go, like it's a lot of nature. So it's a really cool place to be. The only thing is that it's crazy, but soccer is so big in Latin America that, I grew up with my brother and cousins that were like also grew up near the mountains. So, I don't know, like, but our eldest, role models took us there. But it's either, or you grow up in the city and you just like do sports like soccer or running in the asphalt, or people with not that much possibilities grow up in the mountains but working. So they don't see it as a sport, like they don't see like you can go to nature and do like I don't know, even like a kayak or rafting or mountaineering as a sport. It's more like I grew up, doing crops. So that's interesting about Ecuador.
Okay, cool. So what about sporting culture? The reason I ask is because I'm a fan of professional cycling too. And in recent years, South American athletes have been performing really well at the Grand Tours. Obviously, Richard Carapaz is also Ecuadorian, and he was, I think, the first Ecuadorian to win a stage at the Tour de France. He wore the yellow jersey for a time. He won, I think it was the Giro a couple of years ago. Similarly, your neighbor Colombia has produced some amazing cyclists also, like Egan Bernal, who won the Tour de France a few years ago, Nairo Quintana. So as it relates to endurance sports, and maybe this is a good time to just talk about the state of trail running in Latin America. Is there anything that's interesting there? Because the region is definitely producing some amazing talent, yourself included.
Oh yeah, but first, Richard is our pride. he's amazing, and he just won a stage like yesterday in the Giro. So he keeps showing up. But I'm convinced. Like it's crazy. Like it's just a matter of support. But whenever I go to an Ecuadorian race, like super low key race in the middle of the mountains, there's someone that you have no clue, like who he is, probably with really bad shoes, that is gonna really race hard until the end. And he probably didn't have any food like during the race, and like you can imagine like how it's like. But yeah, like people just grow up at that altitude training, like without training, like just living there and walking every day, and they just develop such a strong body and mind, like in tough conditions, working always. And it's just a matter of like just trying to structure a bit better the sport. But if that comes, like the potential there, it's huge. Huge, like, immense.
So, and I think you can have such a big impact on that.
Well, for me, so this also comes back to, I don't know, I feel like responsible in a way, because I grew up in a middle class family and I had everything I could ask for. Like I grew up in a super comfortable place, and I speak English. First of all, I went to a private school where I learned English, and that has really opened me a lot of doors. That is not the reality, that's not the reality of probably 95% of the people that live in Ecuador or in many other cities in Latin America. And not only Latin America, here we can also add probably China, or Asia and Africa, like it's probably similar situations. So same, like sometimes when I race and when I have these opportunities, I feel like I represent much more than like what I like. This is me with this privileged spot that I cannot give up, like it's like that will be so unfair.
Yeah. So building on this, subject of your purpose and your why, you just started a Substack recently, and I was reading through it, and you talk about how at times you feel sort of an insecurity about being from quote unquote a third world country, like feeling like an outsider when you're competing on the world's biggest stages. Say more about that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. And I have to say that I'm white. I have blue eyes. So like, I mean, right now I live in Barcelona and nobody knows that I'm Ecuadorian.
Okay.
If I'm not, I just speak and then they can notice it, but that's also not the reality of a lot of people in my region. So yeah, even there, like even me, like looking alike the majority of people around me, it's just a matter of like, I don't know, like we grew up like always with our heads down when we went traveling far away. Like it's like, I don't know, it's difficult to explain, but it's like, you do feel like you're a minority, like you don't belong there. And when I went racing to Europe, like, and probably this comes from childhood, but I always felt like everyone around me was better than me. Like I just see them and I'm like, okay, this guy has bigger quads. I don't know, like he's taller, he's whatever, and that insecurity was always in my mind. And then as soon as I started running, like I just got into my head and that started to kind of blur away. But it was always there, like my best races have been the ones that I haven't seen many people like in the race. Like I have been more by myself because I don't get these reminders of, oh, this guy you follow him in Instagram and he's might be better than you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure we're going to come back and talk more about that as we begin to talk about some of your amazing results recently. But you've been in the sport for a long time, so I feel like it's important to just set some broader historical context for you, having looked through your results. It seems like you've been in the game for, a decade plus, but maybe share a little bit about your athletic background and what drew you to pursue this life of professional trail running.
Yeah, so I started actually adventure racing. I don't know if anyone has heard about this sport. It's a really small sport, but it's a sport that's more than running. Like you also have to do mountain biking and kayaking and everything while orienteering. And it's crazy long. And I grew up doing this sport because my brother is a race organizer in this crazy sport again, because it's a really small sport, but it's amazing. Like
must be hard to be a race organizer for an adventure racing. Complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's even harder than racing. But for me, like when I started when I was 13 doing these races, like 2-hour races, then 5-hour races, then 8 hours. And I don't know, like when I was 18, I was already doing like 24-hour races, Of course, it's not the same as running because you are all the time like getting lost. So it's like you go hard, you stop, then you go into the bike. So you kind of recover a bit, then you go to the kayak. So it's different. But at the end, it's a lot of work, like continuous effort. So actually, my path in trail running started when the first trail running race came to Ecuador. And I don't remember because there was this big, the North Face endurance challenge around the world.
Yep. I was a North Face athlete at that time.
Yeah. So they actually came to Ecuador, and that was the first trail running race in my country. That was in 2019.
Wow.
And I raced that. Like I was like, oh, like I loved running more than biking and kayaking. And I did the 50K and I won it. And so I was like, oh, like probably the biking and kayaking is too much. Like I should just get more serious into running because I enjoy it more. And it seems like I'm good at this. And then I started like running more consciously, but it wasn't until 2016, I think. Yeah. That I went to Europe for the first time, and I did TDS. Of course, like same path as anyone. Like I saw in YouTube, like trail running races. UTMB came first, and I saw the most like technical race because I was like, oh, adventure racing is more technical, and TDS came up. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for TDS, and I went there just with the idea of finishing that race, and without even noticing until the end, because I didn't have like support or anything, I finished 10th. Like no clue I was like even competing for a top position.
Really, with no crew or anything?
Yeah. And there it was like, wow, like I have to do UTMB. Like that probably I can be a competitive athlete in UTMB, like for once in my life.
Yeah. All right. Perfect segue. So let's talk about UTMB and the UTMB festival more generally. And of course, want to spend some time on last year's podium result, but maybe share a little bit more about the previous experiences there, about that original participation at TDS, but also like you had finished 6th and 11th at UTMB previously. So maybe share broadly about your experience there in Chamonix and maybe how those experiences created the conditions for the breakthrough you had in 2024.
So when I finished TDS, I remember I finished it, and the first thing came into my mind is I want to be ready for UTMB. And in that moment, there was this adventure friend called Cyril Contra. He was the team manager for a brand called WAA.
Yep.
It was a French run that was really big in that moment in the Ultra Trail World Tour scene. And he told me, because he was doing all the races of the World Tour, and he told me, what I recommend you is to do 3 races. Those are Trans Gran Canaria, Madeira Island, and Eiger. And he told me like the reason for doing each one. Like he was like, okay, one is you need to run a lot. Like Trans Gran Canaria is super runnable. Madeira, if you're ready to do Madeira because of all the elevation gain and loss, your legs are going to be ready. And Eiger are the similar conditions. You start at night and it's like similar weather. And I did that. Like I took 3 years. I did 1 per year. And then I said like, okay, now I think I'm ready for UTMB. And I finished 6th, which again, it was like a total surprise for me. Like my goal was just pretty much to try to be as competitive as possible, but I didn't thought I was going to get in the top 10. And I knew that I was able to do better. Like as I finished that race, I was like, I know I can do better. Next time I came back, I finished 11th, but I did 1 hour less. So I improved in 1 complete hour, which was already 1 hour of what I did my first time. And yeah, so then same. I finished and I was like, I know exactly where I can cut a little bit of time.
Yes.
And that took me to that 3rd place.
Okay, great. So let's pick up the story in 2024. I went back and looked at sort of like your progress throughout the race, and you've raced, it seems like, really intelligently, running in sort of like the 20th through 30th types of positions early, and then moved into 10th in Courmayeur. So maybe just pick up the story from there. The field is starting to fall apart and you're taking advantage of it. So pick up the story from Courmayeur.
So I've always been really good at that section. Like for me, Courmayeur to Golferet is the best. And I think it's always the part that is more adventurous. Like always people are starting to feel sleepy and it's like colder and just like you're already tired. So I think it mimics more what I felt in all my childhood and adolescence doing adventure races, that I really feel comfortable. Like for me, that's like the best part of the race. Like I'm so in peace with that sensation of feeling a little bit of sleepiness, and maybe if it's foggy or it's raining, like for me, it's the best. So I think that every year from there, I picked up a lot of places. The difference this year was that instead of being like, I don't know, like 40th or 50th, I was like, I think I got to Courmayeur like 12th. So I was like, oh, like, I don't know if that's going to happen. Like maybe this year, I will not pass 10 people, might be 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But the reality was the same. Like I just did like the same that I did like all the other races. And I just started passing people, but this time it was people I follow on Instagram. It was like Tom Evans and Ben Dimon and
Hannes,
Hannes. So it was like every time I pass one, I was like, or they are having a really bad day, or what's happening with me? Like this is so weird. Yeah.
So at what point did you move into 3rd place, and kind of what was going through your head at that point? Because like obviously you had established yourself a lot of good, consistent, solid results to your name, but finishing on the podium of UTMB is a totally different story. Like what's going through your head when you move into 3rd place?
It was crazy. Like I think I actually had a little bit blurred, because it was, I mean, it's so much suffering as much, I don't know, as much further up in that ranking you have to be more committed to suffer. Yep. So I was like when I got to Champ-Lac 3rd, I had like probably 30 seconds, like 4 or 5. In those 5 were like really big names. Yeah. And I was like, I really have to commit. Like I remember I got into that station, and my wife, who is my assistant, she's the best. She always has the good words to send me off. And she was like, okay, we came to this and you're going to just suffer as much as you have ever suffered, and you can do this. And I just was so committed to suffer, as like I was or I don't get to the finish line, or I hold up to, for me, it was like in that moment, that top 5 position. I was like, I must hold for that top position. Yeah, that came into my mind.
So
just suffering.
Eventually you make your way back to Chamonix, finish in third place, becoming the first Latin American podium finisher at UTMB. What does that feel like? And how does that open more doors for athletes from your part of the world, coming back to where we started our conversation?
First, the feeling was, it's on, I don't even have words. Like, it's just so much emotion, and for me, it was, it's amazing just not for myself. I think it represented so much more because I knew that there was like an entire country following this. And it was just an explosion of emotions. And it was amazing as soon as I finished, my wife and my brother was there as well with my siblings. And they started to show like what was happening in Ecuador. And it made me cry, like, just to see like that amount of people invested like in the race, like they didn't sleep, like seriously, there was so much people that they actually did like a gathering, like to get like a football game. Like they just went all to the same place just to drink beers and watch me running at night. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, it was just amazing to see that. And it has like races that before in Ecuador had like 300 people. Mm-hmm. Now you get like 1,500 people.
See, that's crazy. I was going to ask you that, like whether you had seen any direct evidence of your performance inspiring other young Latin American athletes.
No, it's crazy. It's unreal. Like, wow. And not just in Ecuador, but in all Latin America, like there's races every 2 weekends and they're big races, like I think right now the problem is that the sport is growing a lot. People are coming like to try the sport from the roads, and they love it, but they are not that prepared yet, and they don't measure like how hard it can be. So they're like, oh yeah, I did a 50K race in the roads, and they get into a 20K race in the trails that have like 3,000 meters of elevation gain, and they suffer so bad. But I think that's what happened also in Europe or in the United States like years ago, and we're just in that process right now starting. But like I really believe that a lot will come in the next years from all this explosion of, passion and like, I don't know, like, yeah, just people getting crazy about this sport right now in Latin America.
So cool. So again, I've read through your entire Substack and I love it, by the way. And I can't wait for you to post your Mount Fuji race report there. I got to challenge you. You got to get that thing published, man. Come on.
God, yeah. Maybe we'll talk about this, but after that race, it has been hectic.
Yeah.
Today, like actually I haven't had a chance to ride, but I love riding. Like for me, it's been always there. I've just started sharing it, but it's been just a super nice process just to debrief from each race. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that all of our amazing listeners can go subscribe to your newsletter and become a big fan of your awesome writing. But there's one thing that I want to ask you about from your post about UTMB. You wrote an entire post just sort of about Vincent Bouillard, which I thought was really beautiful. And I just want to read something quickly and have you respond to it. You're describing the moment that you met Vincent Bouillard at the finish line of UTMB. What you said is, I had never heard of him or seen him before, and that made me so happy. Surely not many people had seen or known me either. Maybe they were thinking the same thing. Who is Joaquin Lopez? A few minutes later, talking to Vincent in the anti-doping room, he told me that he has a full-time job, that he's not a professional athlete, but that he has trained with a lot of dedication and passion his whole life. I felt deeply connected and inspired. So expand on that sentiment. You, Vincent, and Baptiste also, who you shout out in your post, all kind of having similar stories and all having the same breakthrough experience at UTMB at the same time.
Yeah, for me, when I was running and I was competing like head to head with Baptiste, it was a fight like all the way to a finish, and it was crazy. It felt so good because at the end, I don't know, like it really felt like we were both trying to empower the sport with a deeper reason. And like in that moment, I didn't know that Vincent won. Like in that moment for me, it was Jim Walmsley. And I know Vincent can talk more about this, but I think a lot of people thought that he was Jim Walmsley. But for me, it was like, it's so cool that Baptiste and myself, we are like putting like a different names in that podium. So I mean, I'm so sure that this sport like is getting more professional, and like you hear about bike carb and ketones and like heat training and everything. And I have to say that I don't do anything about other that, like anything. I haven't done a single heat training session. I don't take ketones. I haven't tried bike carb. I just train with a lot of passion, and I just compete with my heart. Like probably, I don't know, like there's not much people maybe that have that deep grit, to just give so much in that moment. And sometimes I think that is more valuable during training and during racing than actually thinking about, just all those small details that, I mean, of course, I will try them for sure. But at the end, I did feel like you don't have to be a professional athlete to really do good in the sport. And I really want to empower that, because there's a lot of people training so hard that they don't have the support. But if they believe, and for me, that's been the hard part, like trying to believe. But now I can confidently say that if you believe at least a little bit, just stick to that little bit, and that can really take you to places you didn't thought you could.
That's so awesome. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing that. Is there anything that you found that's helped you cultivate that belief? Because I think there is a certain power in the simplicity that you describe, not getting caught up with all the new technology and the hot new nutrition products or carbon plates, et cetera, which I know you've been not an adopter of also. So there's sort of like maybe a freedom in that minimalism, but also, it has changed the sport in recent years. And what you're communicating is that the way that you maybe offset those potential disadvantages is just through running with heart and with belief.
Yeah, and I think there's important people here that have helped me in this kind of mindset. First of all, my wife. Like, I don't think I will be here if it wasn't because of her, continuous support. Like every day when I'm feeling tired, when I'm feeling a lot of doubts, because I see or I hear a podcast of someone doing 100% more training than myself and doing everything, that nowadays you see. She's just reminding me that, like I'm capable. So yeah, she's been amazing. And I think like, I don't know, like just trusting in the people that are working with you. Like I have an amazing coach. Like I have to mention her. She's Darcy Murphy. She's been great. Like she's I'm always like saying, should I train more? And she's like, no, like that's enough, and I do not train that much. Like really, I mean, I have my Strava completely open, and that's what I do. And, every time I get to a start line, I do have doubts. Like that's one of my main defects, I have to say. Like I'm not that confident, but it just reminds me like the people around me is more confident than myself in me and my capabilities, and just surrounding yourself with people that give you that extra push, I think it makes the difference.
Okay, so building off this a little bit, right? After you finish on the podium at UTMB, the season comes to a close, you move into 2025. Did it change the way you approached goal setting for the year? And is there anything about having that massive breakthrough on the world's biggest stage that maybe did give you a little bit more confidence?
It did, but also it started like a new process. Like for me, I know that I'm a really good adventure guy. Like for me, when it's tough, when it's long, it's the best, but I'm not the best athlete. Like I don't have the best splits. I don't have the best VO2 max, whatever,
Yeah.
And actually living in Barcelona had helped me a lot, because just living at sea level had made me a more professional athlete. Like I started running more. Like I started in a way doing bigger training, faster training, because at 2,800 meters in Quito, the quality is not the best. Like you're always tired. Like it's like at the end it has its good things, but also it has a lot of bad things. And what I needed was to become more of an athlete. And of course, first, I have more support now. I have to say that. Like before, like actually, I was paid just like the plane tickets and my probably lodging, and that was it. Like, and I had clothes,
Yeah.
gear to race. But now I can say that, and that made a difference in Mount Fuji. Like, I was able to actually book a hotel for an entire week next to the finish line. Like, that's something like that was not my possibility before. I have a psychologist working with me, like a lot of things like that. Really, you can deliver more as an athlete. So that has changed, and then yeah, I think that's the big thing.
Very interesting. You wrote a bit in your Substack about how you structure a season. I thought this was also a fantastic post. And you referenced that exchange with Cyril where he told you you got to do Trans-Gran Canaria, Eiger, and Madeira before you do UTMB. So I'd love to have you just frame this up for the audience also as we begin to talk about Mount Fuji. Share a bit about how you structured this 2025 season, especially coming off the UTMB breakthrough, all the considerations that went into the specific goals that you set for yourself, and what role Mount Fuji serves in the greater mosaic of the season.
Yeah, so as I finished UTMB, same. Like, I finished and I was like, I know exactly where I can do better. And that for me is the runnable sections. Like, for me, the second part, when I'm tired, like, I'm really good in the mountains at the end, those punchy hills, like everyone fear those. For me, are the best. And like, I actually thank them when they come.
You're the only person in the field who feels that way.
Yeah. For me, that I suffer so bad until Courmayeur because it's more, you have a lot of more runnable gradients.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I need to become a faster runner. And I started looking races, and I saw that Mount Fuji not only was really runnable, but it also has a lot of paved roads. And I was like, okay, that joins two of my most, I don't know, like, that's my weakness, my two more weakness. Or when I'm racing, that's where I hate the most.
Yep.
Whenever I get into a road, I'm like, I don't want to be here. So I was like, okay, I want to go to do that race because I know if I do that and I train for that, I'm going to be a more complete athlete. And I know that I can come back to UTMB and do a better time, whatever that is. Like, I just know that I can be a better runner in the UTMB course until Courmayeur, and then I can do my same, adventure routine until the end.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the Mount Fuji performance itself, which in my mind is certainly one of the performances of the year so far. And it is a unique race, as you described. There's long stretches of super fast running, even often on the road, but there's also sections that are as steep and technical as anything in the world. So maybe just share a little bit about how you prepared for a race with such variable conditions and such a dynamic course, especially with this grander goal of getting faster and more comfortable on the runnable terrain.
Yeah, so here comes first the part of living in Barcelona, and from here I have like 200 meters hills, like it's rolling hills, so it's very runnable. So for example, this was my first race without using poles. I was so scared. I was completely, I remember when I actually texted Darcy saying, I just noticed they don't allow poles, like what am I gonna do? Like, I was so scared. But that really helped me because, living here really helped me because I got to just run more and faster. I actually, I even had some niggles because my body was not used to that kind of running, but yeah, just kind of doing what my body allowed me and just being super consistent. And during the race, actually, I discovered that it was similar. The last part of the route is so technical. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you come like running so much and you're tired of running, and then suddenly you're like using your hands to go up.
The last 50K is very hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Are great, but super hard. But at the same time, for me, it was exactly like UTMB. Like, it was the same. Like, it was like suffering and then getting into my comfort zone. So like everyone was fading. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is the best for me, because for me, it was like more walking. So what I think it changed in this time is that now I wasn't like 30th, in the first half. I was already like competing for the win. So from there on, like I was able to actually like just do my race and do what like everything I've done before, and I actually started like getting a gap.
Yeah. All right. So maybe let's just walk through the race in a little bit more detail. Early in the event, it was you, Guman Dang, Tyler Green, Yuya Kawasaki. It seemed like had sort of formed a lead group. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, who was taking the initiative, and how were you feeling in that, small little lead pack?
Yeah, so Mount Fuji, also to paint perspective for people that haven't been there. I know you won it, so I was following also your path.
I love
But
that race. Such a good race. Yeah.
It's different because I mean, Japan is just a cultural experience, and just racing around Mount Fuji is like super spiritual. And what I sense it different from Europe and Latin America is that people are, of course, more respectful, or like, I don't know, like passive in a way. So like you don't have that crazy vibes when you get to an aid station. Like everyone is clapping, but super discreet. So it was more like like within runners, we were also in that same vibe, or like just running in the night, like with Mount Fuji on a side, like super spiritual. But it was good to have Tyler there. Like for me, the first probably third, the first third of the race, for me it was like, okay, I have to follow Tyler. He knows what he's doing. Like he's raced Western States many times, doing really good in runnable races. So I know if I'm following him, like I'm gonna do good, and that's what I did. Like I just stick to him. Whatever he did, I tried to copy it.
Yeah.
And he was a really good mentor in that first third. Like we actually were talking a bit and just having fun together. And the Chinese and the Japanese guys were really, really fast and good in the uphills, and the downhills where we actually caught them again.
Huh.
G Duo was also there. G is this hookah guy who's really tall, Chinese guy who's really strong. He was actually there in the lead as well. And that was pretty much the first half, actually. Like it wasn't until probably almost kilometer 70 when there's like a big descent. It was really foggy, and actually Tyler stopped. I thought he stopped to take a pee or something. Actually, something happened with his headlamp. I didn't notice. Like, I was running in front of him, and I just saw that I didn't have that light with me. And in that descent, I'm really good, as I said, like when things are not going great. So that fog, you didn't see anything, but like I just was able to tackle that terrain better, and I was able to catch Deng, who was in the lead, and he helped me so much in that stretch to the big aid station that it's like in a stadium. It's like the Cormier of Mount Fuji.
Yeah. So
like
is that where the wrong turn debacle evolved? Share a little bit about that, because I actually saw Tyler at an event a couple of weeks ago with our mutual partner Osprey, and he had a lot of really nice things to say about you. You should know, but he was talking about how he definitely wouldn't have been able to keep up with you, but it seemed like he and Guman sort of got off course there for a short time, and maybe you were able to take advantage there and officially assert yourself in the lead of the race.
So yeah, in this section, like Guo Ming was just carrying me. Like I was just sticking to him, like saying I have to commit to stick with him because I don't want to be alone, because we didn't see any lights in the back of Tyler. So I was like, it was a 15-kilometer stretch of a lot of running. So he actually carried me. I was suffering a bit. We got to the stadium, and as soon as we got there, I saw that he sat down and he was changing his shoes. But in this race, you have to put the tracking, I don't know how you call that, but it was like the system to track when you go in the shoes, like in a road race. So you had to take that out to also change it to the shoe.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, he's going to take long here because that will take him some time. And I was like, okay, this is my chance to just go ahead, and maybe I don't know, like something might happen. So I did a super fast aid station. And as soon as I went out, like I don't know, maybe it came from adventure racing, but I'm always with a map in my watch, and I was so concentrated, like just where to go, because that's the same place where you finish the race. I mean, you do a big buckle and you finish in that same stadium. And what happened there is that like I just went the right way, and what happened to him is that he actually went following the marks that went into the finish line. So he came back, and then he found Tyler, and they both went again there, and they came back. So I didn't I just kept running, I didn't see that happening. And I didn't knew that happened until the finish line.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like I was running, like my idea in my mind, my game was like, I don't want them to see my light. So when there was like a straight line, a straight road, I was running as hard as I could, just like until I had a turn.
Until you had a turn. Then you ease off the gas.
That was my game, like all the race. Like I was just running in the night, like, because for me it was like, okay, if they don't see me, like they're gonna think that I'm far away.
Yeah.
But I always thought that they were close. Yeah.
All right. So I want to hear about the second half of the race, but maybe before we get to it, I just want to kind of emphasize the point here. Two very important things happened there. Number one, you had the map on your watch, which was sort of the critical navigation tool that kept you on the right course. Number two, you had the presence of mind to notice that Gumin had stopped to tie his shoes. And one of the things I talk about on a lot of the live broadcasts and stuff that I do is the fact that these aid station transitions have become so critical and are often the moments where critical separation occurs. And this is a good example of that. And so I don't know, I just think it's important to emphasize that because it's two very small details, right? Mm-hmm. Of like noticing that Gumin was going to change his shoes and knowing that it was going to take him a minute or so and having the presence of mind to think this might be my opportunity. Combine that with the fact that you went the extra step to put the GPX file into your watch, and then there you were all alone at the front of the race. So come around and tell us, fill out the story for us, bring us back to Kawaguchiko, and what if anything happened that's entertaining or important in that second half of the race when you're in the lead.
So first, just to add up in the aid station stuff, like the second time I did UTMB, I did 21 minutes stopping. And my difference to top 10, because I finished 11, I think it was like the difference with Baptiste, actually, that he finished 10th, was the exact difference in aid station times. And I was like, this is not happening to me again. And actually, we trained with my wife. We were like crazy people inside our home, like just practicing, And in this past UTMB that I finished third, I was the fastest one. I did 13 minutes.
Really?
The only person that beat me was Ruth Croft. She did 11 minutes. I did 13. So I was so proud about that. Like actually,
what a great stat! What a great stat! You guys both had such awesome races too.
Yeah. So just super mindful now in that sections of the race, because as you said, like you can actually win races there. Like you have to be really dialed. It's like an equation. Like right now we just execute, and from there on, like actually it wasn't a perfect race. Like for me, I tried the same nutrition as I did in UTMB, but I didn't consider that you run a lot more, and that really is some kind of different sensation in your tummy. Like you have a lot more impact, and like I wasn't able to keep up with my hydration. Like I felt like my tummy was really full, and I started to feel like a little bit bad. So it was, I never have like problems with my GI. And when I got to the last crude aid station, as soon as I tried to eat something solid, I vomited a lot, which has never happened to me. That my wife was like, "Oh, this hasn't been in the plan. Like, we don't know what to do." And I ended up changing stuff. Like I was like, okay, I don't want so much high carb. Maybe I take less. And I kind of messed up because she wanted to put more stuff in with me, and I was like, no, I have to go. And I ended up without food for the last hour, and I've never felt so empty in my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's cruel. Like the last 6 kilometers to the finish line, they are cruel. Like they are just running in an incline it's like endless, like to the finish line. And seriously, like probably they put like 5 more K, like I would have had to walk, like, or crawl, like I was super bad. Like I don't know how I made it to the finish line. Like I'm glad that I had that separation with the rest of the field, and I didn't know. That's the other thing. Like
you didn't know?
No, it's so hard to talk,
because you had a massive cushion at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, it was. I always thought that Tyler was gonna catch me, because he was climbing so hard, and those climbs at the end were really tough. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like he's probably just like seconds apart. Like
Yeah.
every time I was climbing, I was looking back. So I was giving my best until the end, and when I just bunked that hard, it was like survival until the last minute. But yeah, it was. I mean, I really think that it has been my best effort. Like, I think it's been much better effort than UTMB.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So for the audience, you finished in 17 hours, 48 minutes. It was funny. I was at the Canyons by UTMB races at the same time. And when you finished, my text messages just blew up like, oh my God, Joaquin Lopez just ran 17:48 at Ultra Trail Mount Fuji. You were more than an hour in front of second place. It was an incredible victory. So even though maybe it wasn't perfect at the end, how are you feeling about the performance now with a few weeks of perspective?
So yeah, as I said, it has been a little bit hectic because I went to China to visit Kailas, who is my sponsor, and I just came back. So I haven't had that much time actually to debrief. Like, as I said, like I love to write, and I haven't had a minute like to give my space to actually do that. But it's been. I mean, sometimes you don't give that much time just to celebrate this kind of stuff, and like, I do believe that I can still be in this sport and compete really hard, but you never know. So I'm just so fulfilled. Like, for me, this has been like a dream. Like, I've seen this race since I was a kid, and I follow Ultra Trail World Tour, and you that won this race, Fernanda Maciel, who is also a Brazilian,
Yeah.
Latin American runner who has also been there. So I mean, I'm still like, I cannot believe that this happened. Sometimes it
Yeah.
feels like a dream, but like I have the trophy just sitting in my house, like there, and it's like a reminder,
They're
like, wow,
beautiful trophies, aren't they? Yeah.
they're big. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, like, I'm glad that Kyla actually gave me some more clothes and stuff, and they actually gave me another luggage, because if not, I don't know, probably I would have to travel it with me in
Yeah.
my lap.
Both my trophies are at the San Francisco Running Company, and for the audience, they're at least I think they're the same. They're sort of wooden trophies, and from what I heard, they carve them out of branches that fall from a tree nearby a important sort of sacred local temple there in Kawaguchiko. So it's a really lovely, like, physical artifact that you can bring home to celebrate. And you reminded me now, in 2016, the first time I went to UTMF was with Fernanda Maciel, and the race got sort of unfortunately abbreviated due to a typhoon that was going on at the time. So it was only a 50K race. And as luck would have it, the skies cleared the day after the event. So Fernanda Maciel and I went and summited Mount Fuji together, which is one of the great memories from my career. But I mean, congratulations, man. 17:48, like I said, one of the performances of the season so far, and especially sort of coming after that massive breakthrough at UTMB last year. It's just like, wow, Joaquin Lopez at 100 miles is not someone to overlook. So I want to obviously talk about what's next, but you just mentioned Kailas, your partner. You're rocking the t-shirt right now. And after Mount Fuji, it seems like you went and spent some time in China, which is where they're headquartered. I'd love for you to just share a little bit about the brand and how you guys came to be connected, because it seems like they're having a big impact on the sport right now and making great product. And it's not something that a lot of us see here in the US.
Yeah, well, first, I think this story is important because it hasn't been easy to get a sponsor. Like, I actually have to also thank here Kelly. Kelly Newland has been amazing.
Really?
I actually, yeah,
All
she's
right.
great. But I mean, when I finished sixth in UTMB, like, people were saying like, okay, like, you're gonna get some deals, and it's not like that, Like, sometimes in UTMB, it's like, you will get, like, as soon as you get a good result, you will get sponsors, and I mean, for a Latin American athlete, it hasn't been easy. Like, they always come back to saying like, oh, we don't sell so many shoes in that region, so maybe it's not a good investment. Or what's your Instagram community like from where they are? Yeah, are you gonna live here? Like, what race are you gonna do? Like, it's just always like doors closed. Like, and I've talked to all the big brands that we know, like, and all of them have always come up saying like something regarding like from where I am, until like I got to talk with this Chinese brand, which is actually like kind of fun because of course they are not European or US based, like that's also a brand that wants to get into the sport. So that's the first relation, like really close relation, because they are really into like trying to move into the space and learn from the space. And it's amazing to be part of the brand that really, really like, and I can talk about actions, but they are really into inclusivity. Like just in the team, it's like we have like 18 different countries that they support, like Nepal, of course, Italy and Spain, and a lot of European places, but just places as Ukraine or Fiji, places that you don't think about. There's athletes, Kailas athletes, and this brand is massive in China. You cannot imagine it. Like you have to be there to believe it.
Yeah.
Actually, I was in their headquarters. They have a freaking climbing wall inside their offices. You can go bouldering whenever you want. You have an open bar.
Yeah.
If you want to drink a cocktail and have a meeting, you can do that. Like it's massive. Like just picture it, how big it is. Like they're gonna be in the the Paris fashion show. Or, like that kind of big. Like they're.
Yeah, I read in the Mile and Stone newsletter sort of an interview, I think with their founder, where they said, their revenue numbers, which was massive. I think it was like 700 million or something. So I guess for the listeners, it's sort of like the Chinese equivalent of the North Face or Patagonia or something. Yeah.
It's a high quality product from China. They really take care of all the details. Like they partner with Vibram, Gore-Tex, like Primaloft, all the, important manufacturers. They have great deals with them, and like they really invest in the product. Like all the tents and like all these big suits that people are wearing in the Himalayas are Kailas. So they know what they're doing, and right now they are entering into trail running. This is their 4th or 5th year, and already like I've tried other shoes. Like when I was negotiating with other brands, I tried like almost 5 or 6 different brands, and it was funny for me because it was crazy to think that this brand that like not many people know was the one that fitted better for me. So it was like, wow, like I really am trying like the shoes that everyone are talking about, but Kailas shoes actually for me are better. So in like for me it's full circle. Like the inclusivity is amazing, the values of the brand and what they want to achieve is great, and then from the other side they also have a lot of innovation, and they let you in like to talk about the product, to develop, because they are also wanting to get into this trail running space, so they really value your word. So yeah, it's been a great partnership, and yeah, I think you're gonna hear more about this brand in the future. Chinese people are always like they wanna really go slow and trust like the system, try to see it, but you're gonna see a lot of surprises in Chamonix.
Okay. All right, good cliffhanger. Can you explain the difference between Kailas and Fuga? Because it seems like they use that other brand sort of interchangeably in a way that's kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, completely. And actually, we had a big discussion about this when we were there, because in China everyone knows what's Kailas, but now it's super confusing because a new brand is entering that space, and then they change the name, and it's like what's going on. So it's like their division for trail running, like Adidas Terex. It's the most maybe obvious. It's the same. Like for them, they just created a co-brand that is called Fuga that has its own kind of like offices inside Kailas.
Yeah,
it's like a bubble inside Kailas, and they have a big budget just for that, and they're gonna develop just this Fuga brand that is part of Kailas. So it's like like Terex.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. And yeah, I'll encourage our listeners to go check out what the brand's up to. And yeah, they're lucky to have someone like you to represent them, not only, with the Latin American trail fans, but also, being your home base there in Catalonia and in Europe. I mean, yeah, you're going to be a great ambassador for them, and it's a great investment for them to make. And before we move to sort of what's next, it's funny you mentioned that Kelly Newland is helping you out too, and she's a good friend of mine, and I hadn't put that together myself. And she's going to come give a talk at our upcoming conference, TrailCon, in a couple of weeks about sort of like being this rising star of an athlete, manager, and agent. So I just want to give a shout out to Kelly Newland and, you know, all the great work she's doing in the sport right now. So as we look ahead after this amazing, you know, run of success that you're on here, Joaquin, I'm sure you're still in a bit of recovery mode from Mount Fuji, but what does the rest of the 2025 season hold for you?
Well, so, I mean, they just put ultra runners in a really difficult position this year with the World Championship being so close to UTMB. It's such a bummer. Like, yeah,
it really is. Like, come on.
Really, yeah.
Yes.
And for me, you know, like we talked about my recent.
It's also tough for the media. We have to say it's tough for the media too.
It's crazy, and I mean, I'm part of PTRA, and hopefully we can be a bigger voice later in the sport. But yeah, this is not helping us at all. But yeah, you know, for me, the reason is super clear. Like, I have to be in the World Championship. Like, for me, being there, representing my country. You know, in Thailand, it was 3 Ecuadorians there. Now we are 48 in the World Championship team. And
wow,
Kailas is gonna suit us all. You know, so
yes.
Yeah. So,
all right, you know, hey, you got to get them to send me some gear. I need some of that Ecuadorian Kailas gear. Okay,
it's crazy. You're gonna. Well, yeah.
We'll do a little jersey swap. I'll send you a bunch of like free trail hoodies and stuff. You get me some of that Ecuadorian swag.
We can do that. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, for me it's super important to be there. I mean, I would love it to be 160 miles, but you know, I'm gonna do my best. Like, same. Like, I'm just gonna race as hard as I can in that distance and do us better. Not just for me, just because I know that can bring a lot of eyes and support for my community. So yeah, I mean, that's it. I will do OCC. I mean, it's a good training, and I love to be there. I mean, I love to be in UTMB week. It's so fun. It's like a festival for all of us fans of this sport. I will also be in Quito Trail by UTMB in my country. It's amazing. I mean, of course, it's my country, but that race is also beautiful. I mean, you start in the cloud forest, you see toucans, and you just go up, and then you end up, you know, like looking at 6,000 meters volcanoes all around. So it's just so biodiverse and so cool. So I'll do that. Also, that's in August. That's the first week of August.
I want to come to that one.
Everyone might. I mean, and it's perfect. And I've been saying this forever, but coming to Ecuador to do a altitude training camp, because I've been doing that for the last years, you know, doing this race, just like having fun there and then going back down and doing UTMB is the best. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, people have to see that. And Quito is a perfect place to do that because, you know, at that altitude, you have like really good quality life. Like, you're in a city that you can live like comfortably. So yeah, I mean, and it's cheap, you know, in a way. So it's perfect. And then, of course, like, I did well at Mount Fuji, so I have to do a World Trail Majors, circuit. So that came around to do Cape Town. So at the end of the year,
great.
Which I always dreamed about going there, like forever. Since Ultra Trail World Tour races, I always dreamed to go there. So it's going to be a little bit packed the second part of the year, but no more 100-mile races. It's more like a little bit less. So hopefully I'll do okay. And yeah.
Well, what a great season. Quito Trail, OCC, the World Championships, and then finish your season at Cape Town, where I think we're going to be also. So hopefully we get a chance to meet in person there. Joaquin, you're the man, dude. Maybe before we get to the final closing question, share a little bit about the work that you're doing at the PTRA, because I think this is important. And I think it circles back to the original question or your original answer in this conversation of like having a purpose and a why and having a bigger impact in the sport than just smashing podiums.
Yeah, I mean, PTRA it's it's in the making, like we're really working hard. Like there's different, like I'm part of the inclusivity group, but there's the anti-doping, there's the competition. I mean, there's a lot of groups, and we're all athletes voluntary doing as much as we can. And I really believe that it's already a strong voice, and it can be even more stronger. And we're trying like the best for the sport, like genuinely, like we really are discussing a lot, and like we want the best. I mean, we love this, and we want to maintain like the essence of what makes this sport so unique and the best sport in the world. But like for me, it's always been like living in Ecuador, and I love what your brand says, that trail running will save the world. But I do believe it. Like for me, it's like I've seen it, and I invite you to come to Ecuador, because you're gonna cry looking at the people, like, and the passion they have and how this changed their lives. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like there's a lot of kids now that instead of like trying to be a soccer player and going through really hard moments, because that's not easy, they're now enjoying nature and all the values that come around from that. Like just the mountain is in charge of like teaching you like a lot of good things. So I really think that trail running drives positive change in the world. And for me, that's the reason. Like PTRA, I try to work a lot in that, like just making this sport more inclusive in all senses, like from geographically, but also racial. I mean, that's also a problem that we have to acknowledge it and talk about it, because it's part of it. And yeah, hopefully it can be more inclusive in the future.
Well, I think you're just a great example, Joaquin, of how to be a professional athlete, but to do it in a way that centers what's best for the sport, and having, just sort of more of a positive sum attitude, and just sort of like having an orientation to pursue things that are bigger than you. I think it's really, really admirable. I finish all these conversations with the same closing question, so I would love to get your contribution here, Joaquin. My closing question for you is, who is one person that you admire? Can be inside or outside of sports, living or dead. Why do you admire that person?
This one also gave me a thought. And I mean, I think that it's difficult for me to think in one person. Like, I don't think I have a one like big role model that had marked me, but like names, I've been someone that I have picked like inspiration from a lot of personalities in different times in my career. And I think like Killen, of course, he's the man. He's really like, in all senses, he's just amazing. He's the best, image we can have in the sport. But we talked about Fernanda. Like, I grew up looking like what Fernanda was achieving as a Latin America. She was really, really like, she had a Red Bull partnership, and it was like, wow, like I really want to be like Fernanda one day. She came to Quito, actually. She won the 80K race, and I met her. It was amazing to share with her. She's actually an adventure racer as well. She started like that. So
that's right.
It was super like,
she's an old friend of mine too. We love Fernanda. She's great.
Cool. But then, probably you heard his name, Karl Egloff. He's actually a speed climber. He actually took some of Killian's records, and he's actually going tomorrow for the Everest record. So that's gonna be big. So I mean, he opened a lot of doors for us in Ecuador. I mean, he was the first kind of professional athlete that was not a soccer player or some Olympic sport. So he really opened the eyes for a lot of brands inside Ecuador to develop the sport.
Wow.
So he's also been big in my life as an inspiration and as a mentor. I mean, I grew up training with him, and he was always like taking me to the mountain, because he's a guide actually. So like I actually climbed mountains with him. But yeah, I mean, Ludo Pomeroy, for example, when I raced in Thailand, we were competing for 7th place, and that guy won. Like, he finished 7th, I finished 8th, and he went in an ambulance to the hospital because he gave everything he had. And for me, it was like, how can you do that? How can you be so committed to suffering? Like, I am committed to suffering, and I wasn't able to handle that pain. Like, it's crazy.
I'm sorry to laugh so hard, but this has been, it's like a uniform story across so many other professional athletes. Most notably, the one that I recall off the top of my head is talking to Drew Holman about this when Ludo was, they were battling it out at Western States, and Drew Holman passed him, like going through Forest Hill. He was like, "Oh, that guy's dead. Like, we're definitely putting him in the rearview mirror," and like basically couldn't shake him all the way to the final miles of Western States. He's just the toughest mofo in the sport. It's really, yeah, I'm happy you mentioned Carl too. You know, it's a name that I'm loosely familiar with. He had taken Killian's FKT on Aconcagua, I think it was, several years ago.
In that moment, that speed climbing was really big, but yeah, he did the Kilimanjaro, Denali, and Aconcagua.
Yeah, wow,
those three, I think. But then Tyler Andrews, he actually comes all summers to train in Ecuador. He's a big friend of mine. We actually went to do some records in Peru together, and he's also trying the record of Everest tomorrow. So it's gonna be kind of dangerous, but I don't know if it's a good idea to have both of them in the same mountain at the same time, but well, it's gonna be a good story.
All right. Well, I'm going to go check that out as soon as we're done here, and our audience can monitor the progress after they listen to the episode. Joaquin, it's really been great to chat with you here for the last hour or so. I've just been sort of a loose follower of yours for a while now, but I'm now fully indoctrinated into the Joaquin Lopez fan club, and I'm going to be rooting for you. And yeah, we'll definitely see you in Chamonix and then hopefully at Cape Town. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Dylan. It's been great to be here. One of those dreams when I started this sport. So yeah, happy to share my story, and yeah, let's keep promoting inclusivity.